My name is Morgan Ellis. I was 42 when the doctors gave me 6 months to live. Pancreatic cancer. Stage 4. Inoperable. The kind that doesn't negotiate. Richard, my husband of 18 years, cried when I told him. Or at least he did a very convincing impression of crying. He held me, whispered how we'd fight it together, how he'd never leave my side. He canceled business trips, brought home soup, sat with me through chemo that made me feel like my bones were melting. Everyone said how lucky I was to have such a devoted husband. I believed it too. Until the very end. 3 weeks before I was supposed to die, a woman showed up at our house. She was thin, pale, wearing a faded denim jacket and jeans that looked like they'd seen better decades. Her hair was the color of wet sand, pulled back in a messy knot. She had 2 kids with her, a boy about 12 and a girl maybe 9. They clung to her legs like they knew something bad was coming. Richard wasn't home. He was at the office, which had become his favorite excuse lately. The woman looked at me, really looked, and her eyes filled with something like pity mixed with fury. "You're Morgan," she said. Not a question. I nodded, leaning on the doorframe because standing for more than a minute made the world tilt. "I'm Elena," she said. "And these are Lucas and Sophie. Richard's children." The hallway seemed to shrink. I heard my own heartbeat in my ears, too loud, too fast. His, what? She didn't flinch. His children. With me. He's been living 2 lives for 13 years. One with you here in this big, beautiful house. One with us in a modest apartment 40 minutes away in Oak Ridge. I stared at the kids. The boy had Richard's jawline. The girl had his hazel eyes. There was no denying it. Elena pulled an envelope from her bag. Thick. Dog-eared. She handed it to me like it weighed nothing. Bank statements. Photos. Messages. He pays our rent. Our school fees. Groceries. Everything. But he told us you were sick. That he had to stay close to you. That once you were gone, we'd finally be a real family. My knees buckled. I slid down the wall. The kids looked terrified. Elena crouched in front of me. "I didn't know about you until 2 years ago. I thought I was the only one. When I found out, he begged me to stay quiet. Said you were dying anyway. Said it would destroy you." I laughed. It came out broken and ugly. He's right. It is destroying me. She stood up. "I'm not here for sympathy. I'm here because I'm dying too. Liver failure. I have maybe 4 months. The kids, they have no one else. Their grandparents are gone. My sister's in prison. If I die first, Richard will take them, or worse, he'll abandon them once the money stops flowing." She looked at her children, then back at me. "I want you to know the truth before you go. And I want you to decide what happens to my kids. Because you're the legal wife. Everything goes through you." I couldn't speak. I just clutched the envelope like it was the only solid thing left in the world. Elena left her number on a scrap of paper and walked away with the kids. Lucas glanced back once, eyes wide and confused. That night, Richard came home smelling like hospital antiseptic and another woman's perfume. He kissed my forehead, asked how my day was. I smiled. Quiet. Just thinking. He went to shower. I opened the envelope. It was worse than I imagined. 13 years. Not an affair. A parallel life. He had a second mortgage on a condo in Oak Ridge in Elena's name. He funneled money from our joint accounts, money from the small tech company we built together, into their expenses. Tuition. Summer camps. A car. Vacations I thought he took for work. There were photos. Richard at Lucas's soccer games. Richard blowing out candles on Sophie's birthday cake. Richard kissing Elena on New Year's while fireworks lit up the sky behind them. And the messages. Hundreds. Richard to Elena, she's getting worse. Won't be long now. Then it's just us. I promise. Elena to Richard, the kids ask why you can't stay over anymore. I hate lying. Richard, tell them Daddy's saving Mommy's life. It's almost over. I sat on the bathroom floor and vomited until there was nothing left. The next morning, I called my lawyer. Not the family one Richard knew. A new one. A shark named Victoria Lang who specialized in high-conflict divorces and fraud cases. I told her everything. She listened without interrupting. Then she said 4 words that changed the trajectory of my remaining life. We can destroy him. I didn't want a quiet divorce. I didn't want alimony or half the house. I wanted justice. For me. For Elena. For those children who didn't ask to be born into a lie. Victoria dug in. Within days, she uncovered more. Richard hadn't just been supporting a second family. He'd been embezzling. Slowly. Systematically. Over $1.8 million from Ellis Tech, the company I co-founded, the one I poured my 20s and 30s into while he handled sales. He'd created shell invoices. Fake vendors. Funneled the money through accounts tied to Elena's name so it looked like family support if anyone sniffed around. He thought I was dying. He thought no one would notice. He was wrong. I had 6 weeks left, maybe less. Pain was constant now. Morphine barely touched it. But rage? Rage was a perfect anesthetic. I made a plan. First, I met Elena again. Alone. In a quiet park near the hospital. I gave her a USB drive with copies of everything Victoria had found. I'm not going to let him take your kids and disappear, I told her. But I need your help. She cried. Hard. I hate him, she whispered. But I still love him. How stupid is that? Not stupid, I said. Human. We made a pact. She would keep quiet until the moment was right. I would handle the rest. Second, I recorded Richard. Every night, when he thought I was asleep, I'd leave my phone on voice memo under the pillow. He talked to Elena on speaker sometimes. Confessed things. Bragged about how he'd secured our future once the company was sold. He was planning to sell Ellis Tech. The board had an offer on the table, $22 million. He was going to push it through while I was too sick to attend meetings. Then he'd cash out, take the kids, leave Elena with scraps, and vanish to Costa Rica or somewhere sunny. He never mentioned me with anything but pity. Never love. Just inconvenience. I saved every file. Every call. Every bank transfer screenshot Victoria pulled. Third, I changed my will. Richard thought he was the sole beneficiary. He wasn't anymore. I left everything, the house, my shares in Ellis Tech, my personal investments, to a trust. The trustee? Victoria. The beneficiaries? Lucas and Sophie Ellis. With strict conditions, the money could only be used for their education, health, and living expenses until they turned 30. Elena would get a monthly stipend as guardian, enough to live comfortably, but not enough to let Richard worm his way back in. If Richard contested the will, the trust would release every piece of evidence to the district attorney. Embezzlement. Bigamy-adjacent fraud. Tax evasion. He'd go to prison. I also left a letter. To be read at my funeral. Fourth, the final move. I invited the entire family, my parents, Richard's parents, our closest friends, the Ellis Tech board, to what Richard thought was my goodbye gathering. A quiet dinner at our house. 2 days before Christmas. I was in a wheelchair by then. Skin and bones. But my mind was sharp. Richard helped me down the stairs. Kissed my cheek. Played the perfect husband. Everyone cried when they saw me. Hugs. Whispers of "You're so strong." I waited until dessert. Then I asked Richard to play a video. Something special, I said weakly. For everyone. He smiled, thinking it was a slideshow of our life together. He clicked play. The screen lit up. Not photos of us. Audio first. Richard's voice, "She's dying, Elena. Just a few more weeks. Then we can stop hiding." Gasps. Then photos. The kids. The condo. The birthday parties. Then bank records. Highlighted transfers. Fake invoices. The room went dead silent. Richard's face drained of color. "Morgan, this is..." I raised a hand. My voice was raspy but clear. "Everyone here needs to know the truth. Richard has another family. 2 beautiful children. A second life. He's been stealing from the company we built together to support them. And he was counting on my death to make it all clean." I looked at his parents. "You raised a man who lied to his wife for 13 years. To my parents, I'm sorry I didn't tell you sooner. I wanted to protect you. To the board, the sale is off. I've already notified the authorities. Forensic audit starts tomorrow. Richard tried to speak. This is insane. She's on morphine. She's delusional. Victoria stood up from the back of the room. She'd been there the whole time, silent. Mr. Ellis, I represent Morgan. We have originals of every document. The DA has copies. You're looking at 7 to 15 years for embezzlement alone. Richard lunged toward me. His father grabbed him. I looked at him, really looked. I loved you, I said. I built a life with you. And you treated me like a countdown timer. Then I turned to the room. I'm dying. But I'm not dying quietly. Lucas and Sophie will be taken care of. Elena will raise them. And Richard. Richard will face what he's done. I pressed a button on my wheelchair. The video ended with one last clip, Richard telling Elena, once she's gone, we'll be free. People started crying. Some left. Some stayed and hugged me. Richard was escorted out by 2 board members. Police arrived 20 minutes later. Victoria had tipped them off. I died 3 weeks later. Peacefully. In hospice. At my funeral, Victoria read my letter. It ended with this. I forgave a lot in my life. But some betrayals are too big to forgive quietly. I chose truth over silence. I chose those children over revenge alone. If you're hearing this, know that I went out fighting. And I hope, truly hope, that Richard finds redemption somewhere down the line. But not at the cost of anyone else's life. To Lucas and Sophie, you didn't choose this. But you are loved. By a woman you never met. Live well. To Elena, thank you for telling me the truth. Raise them strong. And to Richard, I hope the silence is deafening. The room was speechless. Not because of the drama, but because a dying woman had rewritten the ending. Not with hate. With justice. And that, more than anything, left everyone utterly, completely speechless.